Hello, you're listening to On Israel in Al Monitor. This is Caspit from Tel Aviv. Israel is gearing up to a Biden administration with some concern, even as it tries to squeeze a few final drops from the unbelievably juicy White House orange. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu assures Israelis that he and Biden go way back some 40 years, while the foreign ministry is busy trying to network with Biden's team. Reports that the president-elect might name Hillary Clinton as his ambassador to the UN are causing indigestion in the Prime Minister's residence. We will never know whether a second-term Trump would have continued to shower Israel and Netanyahu with bountiful gifts as he did during his first term. In 4 years' time, we will know whether Biden has been as generous. What is clear right now is that the Netanyahu regime must give up the blatant favorism it has displayed toward the GOP, and Trump in particular, and embark on a voyage of reconciliation with the Democrats, including efforts to persuade Biden to prevent a significant foothold for the progressive, some say radical, wing of his party in future U.S. foreign policy. Our guest today is an Egyptian-born Israeli-American media and entertainment tycoon, Israel's point person in the Democratic Party, a personal friend of the Clintons, and a man who breathed a huge sigh of relief at Biden's election. Haim Saban knows a thing or two about the corridors of power in Washington and Jerusalem. He was a welcome guest in the Clinton and Obama White House and will probably be just as welcome in the Biden White House if Donald Trump ever moves out. He is also highly respected in Israel, which he left decades ago, but continues to publicly and actively support on numerous fronts. Although he disagrees with Netanyahu's views and his policies that have dangerously undermined traditional American bipartisan support of Israel, he has kept touch with the Prime Minister over the years. Haim Saban will be with us right after this short break.
If you're listening to this podcast, you obviously care about the Middle East, and if you do, you should probably be reading Al Monitor. Al Monitor is a global newsroom headquartered in Washington, D.C., with a network of over 160 contributors around the world. Al Monitor offers first-class reporting and analysis from a range of perspectives and an approach that represents the highest journalistic standards, as well as an award-winning commitment to press freedom and independence. If you haven't done so already, visit us at almonitor.com, check out our articles, and sign up for our free newsletters. There's a lot to choose from, including the Week in Review, an essay that offers unusual insights and forecasts into the region based upon Al Monitor's outstanding reporting. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe to our Al Monitor podcast on your favorite podcast platform, On Israel with Ben Caspit, and On the Middle East with me, Andrew Parasolidi.
Now we say shalom to Haim Saban, our friend, and thank you for joining Al Monitor's On Israel podcast. Hi, Haim.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'll ask you, on a scale of 0 to 100, where were you located? 0 is total depression and 100 is the ultimate joy. Where do you locate yourself the minute Joe Biden was declared the president-elect of the United States of America?
Well, I was pretty happy. I don't know that I would put it on a scale of 0 to 100, but I was pretty happy with the return to decency and normalcy and, a more presidential president. Not to mention the fact that on many issues, whatever Joe Biden believes in, I believe in, and have for many years.
And 4 years after you suffered with millions of Americans this huge disappointment with the loss of Hillary Rodham Clinton to Trump, what do you think Biden had in this campaign that Hillary Clinton did not have in the previous campaign? What made the difference?
4 years of Trump. A friend of mine is very, very close to the president. And I asked him during the Democratic primaries, I said, tell me something. Who do you guys fear the most from of these 17 candidates who can beat Trump? And that person's answer, who was very close to Trump, was only one person can beat Trump, and it's Trump. And he was right about that. He was absolutely right about that. Not to mention the fact that I think that Biden ran a very, very professional and very different kind of campaign than Trump. You just look at the first debate. One behaves like a child, interrupting all the time and quasi cursing, etc. And Biden remained what he is, which is substantive and presidential. So, you put all these elements together and it explains what is, but by Trump's definition, a landslide of 302 electoral votes.
I think it's 306 right now.
I'm sorry, 306. My mistake.
Exactly the number that Trump won 4 years ago,
which he called a landslide.
A landslide. Haim Saban, I read an interesting piece this week by Aaron David Miller that was headlined, "Trump was great for Netanyahu, Biden will be better for Israel." Do you agree with this assessment? If so, please elaborate.
I agree 100%. If you are on the side of believing that separating from the Palestinians is the right thing to do, if you believe in diplomacy before military actions, then this is where Biden is. And frankly, this is where I am. And in the case of Trump, he hit Iran on the head multiple times. And where are we? We have today Iran with a stockpile of low enriched uranium that is more than 10 times the amount they had. It is 3 times more enriched than it was. And Iran has opened additional fronts against Israel in Syria, has armed Hezbollah with 130,000 rockets. So that policy which by the way, getting out of the Iran deal, I was very happy and supportive of it. The problem is that in the test of results and where we are today, it's a very disappointing outcome and very dangerous outcome. Therefore, the strategy has failed. Iran's strategy under Trump has failed. And Bibi is happy with the strategy, but it has failed.
Okay, I plan to talk about Iran later, but I'll catch up with you because decision makers in Jerusalem are particularly worried about Biden's Iran policy. Everyone realizes that Biden will try to reach a new agreement with Iran, as Trump would have too. Will he adhere to the tough principles of his predecessor, insist on continued sanctions, and strive to plug the holes in the first nuclear agreement? Or will his policy be more conciliatory, more the Obama style? What do you think from what you see right now in the Biden team, etc.?
They're not mutually exclusive. In other words, if I were advising President-elect Biden, I would say to him, keep the sanctions in place and engage, or maybe lift some of them. Because there are human beings in Iran too that are suffering from the corona, from the economy and everything. Give them some relief, not complete total relief, back to where it was. Give them some relief and engage in negotiation for a better agreement. And here's a question for all those that are concerned. if Biden got to an agreement with Iran that locks them in, an agreement that locks them in, I repeat, locks them in to never ever be able to develop a nuclear weapon. Is that a preferable deal to any other option? In my humble opinion, yes, it is.
The problem is that many in Israel thought that the agreement that Obama had for maybe 10 or 12 years total was not good enough, not long enough. Now Biden will try to do better, but you've been there in the Obama years, I know, and you tried to shuttle between the rivals, and you saw all the bad blood between the White House and Balfour in Jerusalem. Do you think Netanyahu will be able in this time to be in the room of the negotiation? One of Netanyahu's complaints was that they didn't let Israel in the room of negotiations with Iran. Can he do better with Biden? Do you think it's possible?
It really depends on his legal problems. Everything with Bibi at the moment, and frankly, if I were objective, which I'm not, I don't blame him. Everything he needs to find a way, and every and all ways are good enough to either avoid a court appearance or postpone it or whatever he's planning to. So it's all driven by that, as we see at multiple levels, from the budget and everything else. It's about how do we postpone that trial, or how do I get out of that trial? So I cannot answer whether Bibi will be satisfied or not. If it addresses his personal issues, he will be satisfied. And if it doesn't, he will not be.
I want to ask you about an issue that you're maybe the best expert on, is the relations between the bipartisan support of Congress and the United States in Israel, and especially the bad blood between Israel and the Democrats in recent years. This is no secret. Do you think Netanyahu should prepare for some sort of vendetta by the Biden administration to punish him and his government for their total dedication to Trump and the Republicans? What do you think Netanyahu should do to defuse this bomb before it explodes? He did not do it yet because, he was the last one to congratulate Biden, and still did not say the words President-elect Joe Biden.
Well, Bibi is afraid of Trump. It's really as simple as that. He's afraid. I don't know what he's afraid of, but he's afraid that Trump would get mad at him. And if he stops supporting all of Trump's actions blindly, then he's fine with Trump. But he's afraid that if he, drops one thing that Trump doesn't like onto the Israeli and the American public, i.e., calling Biden president-elect, the unpredictability of Trump is causing him to pause. Congratulate, but not all the way by calling him president-elect. So, I don't really blame Bibi for this because Trump is indeed unpredictable, and it's really hard to know what he will do. He could turn on Bibi in a heartbeat, like he has turned on so many people that were loyal to him. There's a lot of similarities, by the way, when you look at it, between Bibi and Trump, turning on the people that were loyal to them. So that's that. A friend of mine, for whom I have the utmost respect and was a leading advisor to President Trump, said to me that Bibi is Trump with brains. Think about it.
Brains and education. He reads books, he's not exactly Trump, but I understood totally what you just said.
With brains being the key. Yeah.
Yeah. There is an assumption also, even in the prime minister's neighborhood, that Trump in his second term could be more dangerous to Netanyahu than Biden's first term, because then in the second term, he doesn't need nobody, no the evangelists and no Netanyahu, and he wants a Nobel Prize and he's the deal maker. And maybe Trump would be the guy that go to the Iranians and give them a very good deal for them. Do you think it's logical?
His unpredictability, puts anyone who tries to predict in an impossible situation. It's impossible to predict what this man will do. And by the way, it's impossible for him to predict what he will do. He shoots from the hip, talks to Erdogan on the phone, and commits to remove the Syrian forces from Syria. And the guy in charge, well, never mind Mattis, who resigned because of this, and never mind the head of the American forces in Syria who learned about it from the media. So he shoots from the hip, as he said himself, quote, on the Golan issues, give me a quickie. As he said himself, you want one state, it's fine. You want two states, also fine. And as a wise lady said, you want ice cream, I've got ice cream too. So basically, he's unpredictable. So it's hard to say what he would have done in a second term, which, for the record, ain't happening.
We hope so. Going back to the relations between Israel and the Democratic Party, do you think it's the bad blood that we just spoke about is reversible? Can we fix it?
Well, first of all, if I were to address both Biden and Kamala Harris, Biden has 40 plus years of track record. Is he going to turn that positive attitude and his pristine record in votes in support of the US-Israel alliance into 180 degrees the opposite? Doesn't make any sense. He would never do that because we have 40 years of the way he approached the US-Israel alliance. Kamala Harris, just go on her website when she was running for president herself, and the website speaks for itself, as to where she is on the US-Israel alliance. Now, as to the Democratic Party, it is true that there is a small minority called the Squad, led by AOC, that has a very different approach to the US-Israel relationship. Unfortunately, that small minority has grown after the last election, but it's still a small minority. However, it's very loud. It's a very loud minority, and it paints the whole Democratic Party with the same brush, and they position the whole Democratic Party in light and in the prism of who they are. But that isn't the case. The vast majority of the Democratic Party is still supportive of Israel. However, they do have issues with Bibi and his policies, but that is not new. That goes back since the beginning of time when Bibi became prime minister. There's nothing new there. The Democrats believe in two-state solutions, and Bibi believes in getting out of his legal problems. So that creates huge conflicts. And then just to wrap up that issue, 75% of Jews voted for Joe Biden.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. As someone close to the Clintons and Hillary specifically, can you confirm reports that President-elect Biden plans to appoint her as the U.S. ambassador to the UN? And do you think this would be bad news for Netanyahu, or even raising up the issue? Does it have any significance?
I think that Hillary has a lot to offer. Whatever position President-elect Biden decides to put her in would be accretive to him and his policies. So whether it's ambassador to the UN or whether it's secretary of defense or whatever, there's no question that she has a lot to offer at multiple levels. And he would do well to do that and appoint her. And, her experience, together with his, makes a formidable force versus a real estate developer.
I think if she's doing something like this, the advice you will give her is just with one condition: don't let me deal with Bibi again, because we remember her term as a minister, as a Secretary of State the other 4 years. I think she will never forget it. And you touched, before ending, before the Palestinian issue. Here in Israel, no one speaks about the Palestinian issue since Trump came to office. And in Jerusalem, people are curious whether Biden administration would restore the Palestinian issue to its agenda. Netanyahu managed to bury the issue and any chance of peace negotiations as long as Trump was in the White House. Will Biden have the energy and the will to push the renewed Israeli-Palestinian negotiation, with the coronavirus, with the economy, with all these headaches he's going to suffer?
Many people in Israel think that Israel is top of Biden's agenda. I'll mention a couple of things that probably are ahead of Israel in his agenda, from the corona to the economy, to China, to Russia, just to mention these four, and he's got his plate full. So let's not delusion ourselves that Israel is top of Biden's agenda, or that Israel is the center of his agenda, or that Israel is the center of the world. It isn't. That's the reality of life. So that's point number one. With that as background, I believe that he will appoint people to deal with that issue in a manner that he believes in, i.e., two states for two people. What does a state mean and what the details are remains to be seen. And what does he really believe in remains to be seen. And I don't know whether it's a version of the Trump plan or it's a version of the original two-state or that Olmert discussed at the time. I have no idea. And it's above my pay grade to even opine. I will, however, say that separating from a Palestinian, to me, humbly I would say this, sounds like a pretty good idea.
And an Israeli interest above all. My two final questions. First is from your knowledge and intimately Benjamin Netanyahu. You spoke and met him for many times. And I guess also President-elect Biden. There is a lot of bad blood personally between them because I think Biden was standing there when Netanyahu arrived in 2015 to have this famous speech in Congress without telling President Obama before. And then also we have 2010 issue in Israel when Biden was visiting Jerusalem. And in the middle of the visit, there was an announcement of 1,000 housing units in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem. What's your advice to Bibi how to break the ice and start all over again and restart the relationship when they meet first time in the White House?
Don't lie to Biden would be my first advice. However, from Biden's point of view, during the primaries, if there was one person during the debates that shred Biden to pieces, as she knows really well how to do, was Kamala Harris. No one attacked Biden like Kamala Harris. He is above that. And he's proven that in such a crucial choice, like who his running mate will be. So therefore, he has proven over and over again that he looks at the matter and the substance of the matter and does what's right for America and what's right for the U.S.-Israel relationship. He is not a small man like some big men are small.
This was brilliant. Last question. Are you concerned about the White House transition? Can President Trump really delegitimize the election results and manage to stay in Oval? His latest moves at the Pentagon do not bode well.
Well, Trump is going to do what he thinks is good for him. He's not interested in what's good for America or for the U.S.-Israel alliance or Bibi or none of that. He's going to do what's good for him. And because he's unpredictable, it's very difficult to guess how far he will take this most unusual steps that he has taken, unprecedented, non-democratic. But all this is secondary to what is good for him personally. And that is what is going to guide him. And, you know, your guess would be as good as mine. I have no idea.
And God bless America. Haim Saban, this was fascinating, and I enjoyed it very much. Thank you for this conversation. Take care. We'll now just take a short commercial break and be back right after this with some final thoughts. Thank you, Haim. Toda and shalom.
Thank you for having me. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm Andrew Parasoliti, president of the award-winning media news site El Monitor, where we cover the Middle East with some of the best reporters and columnists anywhere. And I'm excited to announce our new podcast on the Middle East, where each week I will interview newsmakers from the U.S. and the region about the latest news and trends with additional commentary from our on-the-ground correspondents. Those of you who follow the region know that what happens in the Middle East doesn't stay in the Middle East. And to cite another great movie line, every time the U.S. tries to get out, the region pulls us back. Your time is valuable, so let me promise you this. You will learn something and you will never be bored, because each week we'll be talking with and listening to those leaders who are making the news and shaping the trends in this critical and fascinating region. So please subscribe to On the Middle East with me, Andrew Parasoliti.
Thank you for staying with us. Haim Saban is not very worried about the relationship, the future relationship between Israel and Netanyahu and the Biden administration and the Democrats. He says the bad blood between the Democratic Party and Israel is reversible. The progressive radical movement is a loud minority, and his tip to Netanyahu is just, please, don't lie to President Biden. About Iran, Haim Saban is not very worried about the Biden strategy. He says that the Trump strategy vis-a-vis Iran is a total failure. Iran is a lot more closer now to be nuclear than it was in the Obama days, and Biden will engage to negotiate with Iran and take care of business. And when I asked him what did Biden have that won him the election, what was the X factor that Hillary Clinton did not have 4 years ago, Haim Saban said a very clever thing. He had 4 years of Trump presidency. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you here in On Israel in Al Monitor next week on Monday. Take care.